1.21 gigawatts. Great Scott!
Shall we play a game?
Would you like a jelly baby?
Engage auto systems.
Aye. Engaged.
Clear all moorings.
Cleared, sir.
1/4 impulse power.
You know how to fly, don't you?
No. Do you?
You shall not pass!
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here.
The Force will be with you, always.
Hi, and welcome to the Geek Hangout podcast. My name is Mark, and I'm joined tonight, as always, by my good friend and co-host, Grant. How you doing tonight, Grant?
Hey, Mark, I'm doing great. Hey, we got a big show tonight. Episode 56 is here, and believe it or not, we have topical breaking news.
All the stars aligned, and we are recording about the trailer. Just dropped a few minutes ago, and we're going to be talking about it tonight.
I know. We had planned on doing our show tonight, and then literally, yesterday they announced they're like the new Spider-Man trailer's coming out. We're like, what? It's going to come out right before the show. This is great. So, I guess we'll get right to it, right?
Yes.
All right. So, we both watched it before the show. I think. Oh, there we go. We have Marvel Studios, and we're going to play the. There we go.
Yeah. So we'll play it in the background while we're talking.
Yeah, we'll probably get flagged on YouTube for it, of course. But we had a chance to look at it. We watched it. What did you think of this?
I'm really excited about it. It looks, of course, I was already excited about it, but the trailer is just making it the excitement more. And the fact that it's just right around the corner now, right? December. About a month away now?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. I like that we're we in the trailer. Spoiler alert, I guess, for the trailer is we see some Doc Ock, we see some Sandman. Is it Sandman? It's Sandman, right?
Yes, Sandman.
Yeah, and then
there's Electro, Green Goblin.
Yes.
You see, so basically, if there was a villain in one of the previous Spider-Man, just about all the previous Spider-Man villains show up. The only one we didn't see is Venom, either the current Venom or Topher Grace Venom. We haven't seen either one of those, but spoiler alert, but at the end of the most recent Venom movie, what do you call it? Trailer tag at the very end, the end credit scene. There's something where Venom does something, and now I didn't see the movie, but he does something and basically alludes to the fact that he is crossed over into the Tom Holland universe.
Really?
Yes. So I keep meaning to go and see if it's been leaked or put out.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to see it in the theater. But Tom Holland definitely makes an appearance. So I don't know if that's a setup for this Spider-Man movie or if that's a setup for a future Venom / Spider-Man movie.
Right. That's interesting. Now, I have not seen any of the Venom movies yet. I really want to.
Yeah.
My son really wants to see the second one. I think
the first one is rated R, but I don't remember it being that bad.
Okay.
The second one's PG-13. So, I mean, for what it's worth, that should be fine,
Right. So what stands out to you in this trailer? Anything? Some of it is footage we've already seen.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing that it's funny. The thing that stands out, on the positive side, is that we finally see all the villains. I mean, everything's going crazy. So it just looks like it's an exciting, a big exciting movie and all that. What stood out, the main thing that stood out, is that we did not see Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire. And I really thought, I'm operating under the assumption that they're in this movie, although they've denied it. So I was surprised because there's been so many leaks for this movie and it's been so heavily rumored. I was really surprised that I thought they would just tell you ahead of time.
Yeah.
On the flip side, if they can deny for another month or and have it be a surprise in the theater, well, that's cool too. That would be fun.
Yeah, I've been saying, and because my son and I have been talking about this. He's real excited about the Spider-Man movie too, and he keeps talking about the other Spider-Man showing up. Right. And I'm sort of half convinced that what we're looking at is a Mephisto situation where everybody's talking about it, they're convinced it's going to be in there, and then if it's not, it's going to be like, well, the other Spider-Man never showed up. What happened there? And it's like, well, they never said that was going to happen.
Right. It's like,
but,
nobody ever said it for here. They did deny it. So
right. So look, nothing would make me happier than to see all of them, but I'm not 100% convinced that's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. Who knows? I mean, like, right. Yeah. Like, if they don't show up, well, it's still going to be a good movie. I'm sure. You know, it looks fun. If they do show up, and even if it's, and I don't know if I said this before on the podcast, but even if it's like at the end of Into the Spider-Verse where they do the meme where they're pointing at each other.
Yeah.
Like that, where they all three of them are like looking at each other like, hey.
That would be awesome.
Something would be fun. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great. Yeah, it seems like it's, I don't know. Oh, that's what I was going to say is when you were talking about Mephisto is in the comics when Spider-Man, he makes a deal with Mephisto in the comics that makes everyone forget that he's Spider-Man.
Oh, really?
I believe that's what happened. And then part of that was also Marvel at the time. Peter Parker and Mary Jane were married, and Marvel at the time decided they didn't want them married anymore. They wanted to break them up. And I think as part of that storyline, not only did everybody forget that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, but they also somehow had those guys get divorced or something, or like separated or were never married or whatever it was.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't know what the current status is of that, if they've ever gotten back together or not. I haven't kept up with it.
Okay.
So it was funny when you mentioned Mephisto, is that now I'm thinking here, I'm like, oh, well, maybe Mephisto is going to show up in Spider-Man now. And it kind of organically popped. So anyway, so that was in the comics, but in the Marvel, in the cinematic universe, it could be interesting if he ends up being the villain here somehow.
Yeah,
like that
would be funny,
right? And one of the things I was thinking too is in the trailer and kind of in the first one, but really in this one, is that Doctor Strange seems off to me, right? Like I can't place it. I don't know what it is, but he just seems a little off. And I thought, I'm like, wouldn't it be funny as if he ends up being Mephisto?
Yeah.
Disguise, some, or like, I mean, like something like that. Like, nobody sees it coming, and then oh my, yeah.
It does seem strange. It seems odd that Doctor Strange would make that kind of an error.
Yeah. Because even in this trailer, he says something. He goes, "Well, that spell you messed up." And
right.
I'm like, "You're the Sorcerer Supreme, dude."
Right.
So, I mean, unless we don't see the whole thing, unless it is Peter's fault somehow.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it all plays out. But I do agree with you. He doesn't seem quite himself.
Right.
I don't know if that's just the writing or if there's something to that.
I know. Now, I mean, Doctor Strange, I think he is kind of jerky. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think so. It's hard when you're reading a lot of times to pick up on that. So, like, I guess it's almost like Tony Stark. Like, Iron Man, he was lovable, obviously, but he had his attitude. He could be jerky and stuff like that.
Right.
And maybe that's kind of what we're seeing with Doctor Strange here, or
right.
It could be something else,
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, but overall, yeah, really exciting. Really, it looks really fun. And I really have to say, I mean, the whole multiverse and all this planning has been wonderful and great. But I mean, just from a business sense for Sony, who has all those Spider-Man rights, I mean, this is talk about revitalizing all your old properties type of thing. I mean, they're going to get people going back and watching the last, there were 5 Spider-Man movies that they did.
Right.
Before.
Right.
So you'll get people going back and looking at all that stuff. And I mean, Doc Ock, he's on the screen now, but I mean, he was great. And, it looks like they upgraded Electro. He was blue in the Andrew Garfield movie, but he looks more traditional in this one. So that's
because my son's actually been going back and watching all the old stuff.
Right. That's pretty funny.
Which I thought was funny.
Do you guys own those, or where are they available at? They're not on Disney, are they?
He's been I forget how he's been watching them. We own a couple of them.
Okay, so maybe yeah.
I don't think we own the third one. I don't know how he saw that one.
Yeah.
I thought this, not to interrupt, but I thought this part of the trailer was interesting because, let me back it up a little bit. Doesn't that sort of remind you of the Andrew Garfield one?
Yeah, when Gwen Stacy falls, and then right. You know what's funny is now that we're talking about it, I don't think I know the comics that Gwen Stacy falls and basically dies, but I don't know if I ever saw the movie per se. I'm sure I saw clips of it, but I don't know if I actually saw the movie.
Oh, really?
I'm not sure now that we're talking about it. I can't remember Emma Stone. She played Gwen Stacy. I can't really remember her.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I didn't. I know people have their issues with those movies. I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard somebody say one time that, and I think I sort of agree with that Andrew Garfield made a really good Spider-Man, but not a great Peter Parker.
Oh, interesting.
And I tend to agree with that. Like, he's not quite right as Peter Parker, but I liked his portrayal of Spider-Man. Right.
Okay. That's interesting. Right.
Whereas, like, so I thought that was a good, an interesting criticism, because I do agree with that. I thought the stories of those two were pretty good.
Yeah, I remember the first one with the lizard, and that one just being like, okay, like it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't bad. I just remember like it was dark. I don't remember. I guess
they were different. I mean, they were very different from the.
And that's probably what they were going for, because they were the Tobey Maguire ones were actually very similar to these most of the Marvel movies in terms of, they were fun, but they were lighthearted. That I mean, they had a nice mixture of that. And I felt like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man came in and was trying to be a little bit more darker, a little bit more serious, and and maybe that's what is sticking with me. That, especially for Spider-Man, like I always think of him as a little bit more on the fun side, not silly by any means, but more fun.
Right.
And, maybe that he was a little bit too dark and brooding,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's probably fair criticism.
Yeah, right.
So. But I don't really. I mean, I need some more time to kind of like go through the trailer and digest it and all. But I mean, those are kind of my initial thoughts. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm even more excited than I was. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. I mean, really don't have much else to say. I mean, just excited to see where it all goes.
Yeah. Is this an opening night? Might need to be an opening night.
Might have to be. So it's with the 17th. That's a Friday. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I think we might have to revive that tradition, because we haven't done it in a while.
We haven't. I know. I don't know if the family, the kids are older now. I think that they're all excited for this one too, though. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Nick wants to go at midnight, and I was like, I don't know what to see.
Did we go to midnight for the other ones? Oh, we used to go late. We used to go at like 9 o'clock.
Well, they started doing it so if the movie starts at like 10 o'clock, if it ends after midnight, that's when the first show is, or something like that.
Okay. Right.
So you don't have to go at midnight, but it'll get out around
Remember,
midnight.
we did that for what? Phantom Menace was at midnight, and then
didn't we do all of those?
I don't think we did. I think after Phantom Menace, we're kind of like, maybe we did Attack of the Clones. I don't remember. I can't. You know what? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I feel like we did it for a bunch of. I feel like that wasn't an unusual thing, going at midnight to the movies. That was a lot younger too. So
yeah, before we had families.
Right.
So yeah, good stuff. We'll discuss.
Yes, sounds good.
All right. But on to the next issue. We both have seen Eternals, right? You saw it, right?
Yep. We went over the weekend and saw it, and you guys saw it. You said on the cruise, right?
Yeah, we got back from just got back from a cruise over the weekend, and we saw it on the cruise. It was I don't know. What do you think? I mean,
I liked it. I did enjoy it. I felt it started out very slow, and I kind of understand why it had to be slow, because they had to catch everybody up and get everybody up to speed. I mean, somebody like us that are into all this, and they've been here for thousands of years. Like, okay, you don't have to over-explain it, but I guess for other people, they felt like they had to over-explain it a little bit. To be perfectly honest, I did doze off a little tiny bit in the beginning of the movie. Old man John Donato snoozing away. But by the time things got around to it, I enjoyed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
By the time it started up again, by the time they got moving, I don't know. It just felt like a long time. It took a long time to get moving, but by the time it got moving, I did like it, and I really enjoyed, getting to know the different characters and the effects and the fights and all that stuff. I liked it. So, if I had to, aside from the slow beginning, if I had to critique, I found it very interesting that it didn't really have an ending. I mean, it had an ending. Spoiler alert! They prevent the Celestial from hatching or whatever it is like that. But some of them go into space, and then the main Celestial guy shows up and like kidnaps the other ones. So they really left it like a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was very interesting, because usually it's not that much of a cliffhanger. Usually it's more of here's where we might be going next. You know what I mean? Whereas it was truly like, I assume there's going to be an Eternals 2 because of the way it ended. I don't know how else they're going to do that. Where else these characters would pop up. Maybe they will show up somewhere else, but
I kind of felt, I thought it started slow. I agree. I actually sort of went into it because by the time I'd see, like, it had been out a week.
Yeah.
By the time I finally saw it, and I'd heard that like critics didn't love it and that kind of stuff, and I was like, that's kind of a bummer, and I kind of went into it expecting it not to be very good,
right?
And I was sort of surprised at how much I enjoyed it, right? Like I thought I was like, oh, this isn't. Did I just freeze up again? Okay.
No, you're good. Yeah, okay. I know what you're saying. Right, your expectations were lowered, so when you got there, you're like, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah. I was really, and I do agree, and I think part of it is because there's so many characters.
Yeah.
Right. And and they all sort of had like a bit of a story, and they had to explain that. So I think that's why it started as slowly as it did. Right. Because, and then they were going back and forth in time and all that kind of stuff. But I overall, I really enjoyed it. I'll say, in full, like, we're going to do full spoilers, we're, as we always do, we're doing this kind of stuff. But like, so, if you haven't seen it yet, and you don't want to be spoiled, I'd tune out at this point. But like,
I already blew by that.
You already blew the ending, but like, I think the bigger spoiler than that is the fact that, Icarus ends up being the one. Well, first of all, what's their name? Ajax or Apex?
I think it was Ajax.
Okay, Ajax dies, and that's the character played by
Salma
Hayek. She dies, which I wasn't expecting.
Right.
And then it turns out at the end that Icarus is the one who kills her, which I was so that twist totally, I was like, wow, like I was not expecting any of that, right? So that I thought was really good.
I did enjoy that twist. That was fun, and it was neat because I really found myself. I really liked Icarus. I really enjoyed his character, and I found him interesting. And the parallels to Superman were not lost on me. They joke about it in the movie.
Right.
Just flying a strong guy with the laser beams out of his eyes and all that. So for that to happen at the end, I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming. So that was good. I did like that.
Yeah. So I wonder. And then at the end he kind of like as he flies off and into the sun, and theoretically you assume he dies, right?
Yeah, right.
But as we all know, right? Calvin,
what's the myth? They say he flew too close to the sun. In the myth, does he die also?
I
don't know.
I don't know what the myth is. I have to be honest. I know. The whole. Icarus flew too close to the sun kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how it ends though. I don't know.
Okay, because I'm the same way. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
right, I know the flying too close part, but I don't know. Did he burn up? Did he, did he
Right.
singe his wings or whatever it was? Yeah.
But my guess is we will likely see him again, right?
Right. Right. Who knows? I don't know.
That's how I expect we'll see him again. And then, and then he's an interesting character then, because now is he a bad guy, or is he just sort of an anti-hero now?
Right.
Like the others don't trust him, and because
right, he killed one of them. I mean, I guess he is a bad guy because he killed one of them.
Because the other character, what's his name? The guy the Bollywood guy. What's his? I don't know what his character's name was, or the actor's name.
His character in the movie began with a K, I think.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna butcher his real name too. I can't even get into if I had it in front of me, I could.
We will refer to him as the Bollywood Eternal for the moment. but he, in the end, he doesn't disagree with Icarus. Like, he sort of agrees with Icarus.
Right.
I mean, he doesn't try to like betray everybody, but he just sort of goes off, and so there's some. And at the end there was no tension with him. I mean, they were sort of like, oh, okay, he's back.
Right. You're like, all right. So at the end of the movie, 3 Eternals go off into space.
Yes.
Right. So you have Athena, Druid, and Makari. They're the ones that go off into space, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then on Earth, you have Cersei, Kingo, and Phastos.
Yes. And Sprite, is still there, but they turned Sprite into a human at the end. Yes. So she's no longer an Eternal.
Right. Yeah. As an aside there, I thought it was interesting that they said, oh, I can turn you into a human, but they really didn't, like, I don't know. I expected some sort of like magical transformation or whatever. It was just more like, oh, I'll make you human now. And, well, okay. Like,
yeah, right.
Like that was like, they dropped the ball a little bit on that one. Right. And then anybody else besides those 6 we just named minus Sprite, the other they're all presumed dead.
Right.
Icarus,
well, Gilgamesh definitely is.
Yes, Gilgamesh and Ajax is. And Icarus is unknown. We assume he is, but we're not sure.
Right.
And we'll talk about that earlier. Okay. So that's sort of where we leave off. Right.
Yes.
And that's what we were saying before, and I assume we're going to use that part of the show, but we were saying before is that the way the show ended, or the way the movie ended, was very presumptuous. Like, oh, there's going to be a sequel because it's like a true cliffhanger versus versus a little snippet of like, oh, here's what might happen next. Like Shang-Chi, oh, something's in space, a signal's going off, and if they never touch that again, you'll be disappointed. But okay, it's not that big of a deal. Whereas this is like a pretty big deal.
Right.
So
yeah, because we have to know what happens to these 3 that were sort of taken by Arisham.
Yeah.
And then of course we get the tease of, all right. So first of all, we get the tease of Star Fox,
right,
from the group that was in space. Now I am totally unfamiliar with Star Fox, so when I saw the movie, I was like, I'm going to have to ask Grant about this because I don't know who this character is. So fill me in, Grant.
What I know about Star Fox is pretty much what they established in the movie. But so he is Thanos' brother.
Okay.
They don't look anything alike. Star Fox is played by Harry Styles, which my children were very, very excited about, my girls.
Okay.
All kinds of giddy little screams coming down from the row. But so he is very, I think his real name is Eros, right? And he's very for lack of a better word, he's very sexy. Like he's kind of like a player and kind of like I think, I mean, is Eros like one of the,
it's another mythological character, but I'm not familiar with him. I couldn't tell you anything about him.
Yeah. So I remember reading the Infinity Gauntlet comics, and I remember Star Fox kind of being around, but like in the comics, he has on a very like his costume is very 70s. Like he's got like the V cut spandex, like so you can see chest, and he's kind of got Wolverine hair, like with the on the sides, if I remember right. And so it's kind of like it was kind of a little silly.
Okay.
So when he showed up here, though, it was pretty funny. Now the troll that was with him, I have no idea who that was. Pip the troll.
Right.
Came out, right. I don't know who that is. I know it's voiced by Patton Oswalt, but I don't know I don't know what that was all about. So, and even the other people on the ship, he shows up. He's like, "Hey, basically, your friends are in trouble. I'm another Celestial, and I also happen to be Thanos' brother. Let's go save him."
Okay.
And you're just kind of like, okay, like it kind of threw me off. I'm like, well, like I said, it wasn't just a tease. It was like, okay, here's the doorway to the sequel,
Right.
So,
yeah,
I don't know. I did find it interesting with the what did we say her name was? Makari, the deaf woman that she's like doing her sign language, but it's like this is Thanos' brother. Like she was like questioning, like, wait a minute, this is Thanos' brother. So I thought that was they acknowledged it and we're sort of like, wait a minute, whoa,
right.
So I don't know why he's not purple, like or whatever. Magenta, whatever color Thanos was.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of where he comes in. I don't have much else to offer on him. I'm not sure.
All right. Because I saw him show up and I was just completely clueless. I had no idea who he was. I mean, so all right, so that's that. But like then we also get the tease in the other post-credit scene. We finally get the Black Knight. So and who I know of the Black Knight, but I don't know a lot else about him. So we don't know
that. This is getting pretty deep in the catalog.
Okay, it's pretty. These are deep cuts.
I'm not I know the Black Knight. So what I thought, and apparently I'm wrong, but I thought the Black Knight was literally a knight out of time. Like I thought he used to live in the past and he came to the present and he was a knight running around with a sword. And I literally thought that was his shtick.
Right.
But now in the movie, and now it could be different for the, it could be different for the movie, or I could, like I said, I could be totally wrong.
Right.
It's like he's a dude that has this history of past knights that, pass the sword down and the sword seems to be possessed. Like they show, right.
So he is not. So is he has lived for thousands of years, or he just inherits the sword and becomes?
He said my family in the movie. He said my family history is complicated. So I'm assuming that the sword has been passed down through the generations.
Okay.
That's an assumption because, like I said, in the comics, I think it was straight time travel. I think he was back whenever, and then he was in present day.
Okay.
So, but then I never realized the sword was anything special. I thought the sword was a sword, literally a sword. I never realized it was special or possessed or whatever it was. Because when he, put his hand over top of it and it was like something crazy was going on with it.
Right.
Then I think he didn't hear voices, but he started hearing other things. But then off camera, you hear somebody chime in, "Are you really ready for this, Mr. Dane?" or something like that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And my wife was sure it was Nick Fury.
Okay.
Somebody else in the theater was sure it was Nick Fury, but I don't think it was Nick Fury. It sounded like somebody else.
It was, I read online, and spoilers again, but it was Blade. It's Marshall.
Yes.
Marshall.
It's I know who you're talking. It's Marshall Ali, something like that.
That's it. It's the guy that's going to play Blade.
Right. Okay.
So, and the reason I know is the article went on and it interviewed him, and he said, "Yeah, it was really weird having to voice a character before you actually play the character."
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. And so then, because they interviewed him, I'm like, "This must be legit." You wouldn't quote this, make up a random quote from this guy.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting, but the article also did mention that a lot of people thought it was Nick Fury, And then the guy in the theater next to me, I was explaining to my wife what it was, and I see him look. He was like leaning over listening. So I'm like, well, who'd you think? I saw him look. It's like, who'd you think it was? And he said I thought it was Nick Fury, but he also said he thought it was somebody else. And I can't remember who he thought it might be.
Somebody else thought it was Doctor Strange, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, it just, I didn't. I mean, he didn't say enough, but it didn't sound like Samuel L. Jackson to me.
Right.
And I didn't recognize. I didn't think anything after that. I was like, well, I don't know who that is, but it's not Nick Fury, so I don't know.
Yeah. I can't remember who the guy in the theater thought it was. I can't remember now. It'll probably come later. But so that, like I said, I read online it's supposed to be Blade, so I guess. But now that
and we know that's a movie that's coming, right? We know that's in the pipeline.
Yeah, they announced that, and they announced Marshall Ali or whatever his name is. They announced him as Blade and all that. So I was just more confused because, again, Blade's a vampire. Blade is a vampire, and he's a vampire hunter. Right. So I'm like, what business does he have being in this guy's apartment, worrying about a sword? Right. So unless it's an occult piece, and maybe they're going to tie him more into like the cult and magic type stuff than he was, previously. And now, I think I saw the first Blade movie, and I don't think I've ever read any Blade comics that I remember. So, I like I said, I know he's a vampire / vampire hunter. So I'm not quite sure where they're going with his character in these movies. Okay,
it'll be interesting. Like when they announced Blade, I've never seen any of the Blade movies to date.
Yeah.
It just didn't interest me.
Right.
But and when they announced Blade, new Blade movies coming, I was like, all right, yeah, I probably won't go to those. But it'd be interesting. I'll tell you what, they would sort of have me interested if they tie into the MCU. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if that I would be interested in. If it's not just vampire thing.
Yeah, right. I mean, if they can, because at this point we're fans of the MCU. I mean, we all have our favorites and favorite movies and all that, but at the end of the day, I'm much more interested in this whole tapestry of all these movies and how they're connecting them together. And I find that very neat and very, very entertaining. And so, to see how they would bring Blade into this and make them fit in this larger, like I said, larger tapestry. I think that'd be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I'd be interested because the Blade movies they talked about. I don't even think we've ever talked about them on the show because I was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
I had no interest in it. But now, if he's tied into the MCU, that interests me.
Yeah.
So
I remember, for what they were very action based. It was like I said, a vampire. I guess they were pretty gory, like, just a lot of blood because it's vampires and stuff like that. I don't think bad of them. I was never like, yay, Blade, but I remember thinking like, oh, that was cool or whatever.
Yeah, they weren't my thing. Like they just never caught my.
I think I watched it back then because I used to watch if it was a comic book movie, I would always try to watch it to support, back then, because a lot of, if it wasn't Batman, nothing was getting made for a while there.
Right.
So I'd be like, all right, well, I'll watch it and try, see what I think. So,
yeah.
So, all right, well, good.
Yeah.
Right.
I liked it. If they do a second one, I'm in. I'll go check it out. I thought this movie was better than, I had heard a lot of grumbling online, or at least seen it on Twitter, that people were like, oh, it's not very good and yada yada yada, and I was like, I saw it and I was like, you know what, I liked it. Not my favorite Marvel movie, but I thought it was good.
One of the things, and this might sound a little political, but I don't mean it to, but I hear people being like, oh, this movie's woke and all this and that, and I'm like, because the cast is diverse, it's a woke movie. Yeah. And then you begin the question, you're like, all right, are people review bombing this because it's, is that part of their agenda that they want to review bomb it, or did they just not like the movie? There's always somebody, there's there's always an agenda. Somewhere someone has something, and it's just weird when if it just came out and you're like, this is a terrible movie, that's fine. But when they start using buzzwords and stuff like that, I don't know. I'm always kind of like, wait a second,
Yeah.
What's the real thing going on here? So
Right. Agreed.
yeah. So anyway, so all right. Well, that wraps up, I guess, Eternals and everything.
Yes.
Next up, we have from Disney Plus Day. They have basically, there we go.
Yeah.
They announced, the running joke online was they announced a bunch of logos. I mean, we
That's true.
But like we got logos for everything under the sun,
Well, I like how Disney Plus Day is like a thing now. I was like, I don't know, is that because we were away, and then I'm seeing all this like buzz about Disney Plus Day, and I was like, what the heck happened, And I was like, oh, I guess they saved all these announcements for.
It's kind of funny, so like they've done other event days or whatever like that, but so Disney Plus Day, but a lot of the stuff they announced was only available to watch on Disney Plus. So it was kind of like a little backwards, because you're kind of like, wait a minute, excuse me, it's like, wait a minute, you're trying to draw in new customers, you're trying to draw in new fans.
Yeah.
But to get them interested in the new products, they got to subscribe.
Right.
I mean, eventually everything made it to online, but it was, or on YouTube or whatever, but it was just it was interesting. I thought, I'm like, wait, even for me at home, I'm sitting here and, I have Disney Plus. You can do it on your computer, but I'm like following links. I'm like, oh, I got to log in here. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just I was like, okay. I mean, I didn't even know it was going to be a thing. And what's funny is, I mean, we're only really talking about what they announced for Star Wars and Marvel tonight. I mean, we're talking Marvel right now. We'll talk about Star Wars later. But they also did a Pixar one,
right,
where they did some Pixar stuff. And what's funny is, like, I watched the Pixar like announcement, and I even got the sense from watching that one that even they were kind of surprised they had to do something, because it was just sort of like, it just seemed very like, I don't know, we got to come up with something, throw something together,
I got to do a presentation.
Right. Like it's just that it's like the one guy's just like walking around a lot with a video camera. Like, it's just funny. Like, it just seemed very like, I don't know, what do you think? We'll just throw something together.
Pretty funny.
So at any rate, but yeah, so these were the shows that they announced.
Right. I guess
most of it we knew was coming, I think.
I'd say like 50-50 maybe.
The Echo thing, I'm clueless about. I've never heard of that. Do you know what that is?
Well, yeah. So Echo is going to spin off of the Hawkeye show.
Okay.
Echo, I don't know. I think the character is like, I think I've read some comics with her, but I don't know if it's the right character. But I think she's a ninja type character, but she happens to be, I think she's deaf. I could be wrong.
Okay.
But oh no, that would make sense. Maybe that's how she. Oh wait, Echo. She wouldn't be blind, because that's Daredevil's shtick. I think maybe she's deaf. But I think, and she might have some kind of like mask with like a handprint on it or something like that on her face.
Okay. So she's a character?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I was told. I saw that logo and I was like, I don't know what this is. I didn't know if it was something completely different, or I didn't realize it was another character. Okay.
Yeah. So she's definitely a character and she'll be in Hawkeye. And I assume she's gonna be like, start out bad, bad, but end up being good or something like that.
Okay.
And I saw the actress that's gonna play her. Oh, I can't remember her name. I think she might be Native American. I hope I'm not getting my people mixed up, because my daughter and I were going through looking at the cast of Hawkeye, and I believe she is Native American, because she was wondering if Florence Pugh, who is Black Widow's sister, Elena, is that her name? Was that her name?
I think so.
Yeah, she was wondering if she was going to be in the Hawkeye show, and she is. She's listed on the cast as well.
Okay.
Yeah, because and that's where we last saw her and Hawkeye, and so I assume she'll play a part of that in that show as well.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's the spinoff from Hawkeye, Echo.
Okay.
I guess just bouncing around these logos, but so the surprise, the first logo we have here is X-Men 97.
Yes.
So that's the old X-Men cartoon that was on in 1997, and they're going to bring that back and I guess continue it in the same like continuity and timeline or whatever like that.
Cool.
You know, it's kind of neat. I don't really remember being into that show very much or anything, but I know a lot of people like love that show.
Yeah, I was wondering if it, like, I know I've never seen it, or if I did, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't a regular watcher, so
Right.
I was wondering if you had seen it.
I mean, again, maybe, you know, here and there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's like for me, years ago was Batman the Animated Series, and that was a very stylized take on Batman, but it was a very well done, good take on Batman. And I think X-Men was a little bit later, but I think a lot of the same thing. People just like basically fell in love with the show, and
Okay.
you know, so I thought it was kind of neat for them to bring it back like that. That's, you know, they're playing on nostalgia, but that's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
I guess it you know, with the multiverse, and they're not worried about the MCU per se. They're just like, yeah, okay, we're gonna do this over here now. So
Yeah.
but that was pretty neat. And then there's the other cartoon is going to be Spider-Man freshman year, and that I mean, because it's Marvel Studios, I think it's going to be like Spider-Man to Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Well, I read today they didn't announce. I think everybody's sort of assuming that Tom Holland is going to do it, but
Right.
that is not official, right? So they
Right.
don't know for sure that Tom Holland is going to voice it.
Yeah, I guess what I was trying to say is I think it's going to be the Tom Holland version of Spider-Man.
Oh, yes, I think
You know
you're
what I
right.
mean?
But it's like,
I'm not sure if they'll voice him or not, but
but I read it's like before he becomes Spider-Man. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Or maybe it's like, because the Tom Holland Spider-Man we didn't really see become Spider-Man.
that's what I thought. It was sort of like a
Okay.
backdoor way to, like to capitalize on Spider-Man and his popularity and do his origin without having to do it in a movie, because
Yeah, right.
at this point it's been done so many times, but they can do it, a cartoon out of it. And I think the cartoon is going to be a little stylized. Like I saw something like, so the logo has like a notebook paper, and like it had something I saw online. It had like a tear at one point, and behind it was like, it almost was like the 60s version of Peter Parker, the way he was drawn.
Okay.
Yeah, like with the glasses and like, and I got the impression it might be a stylized animated take on, I guess it'll still be Tom Holland, but I think it might be more stylized, more
Okay.
like a retro stylized type of thing. I could be wrong about that, but I definitely caught my eye that I thought that was interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. So, what else we got? We got so Agatha, House of Harkness, and obviously that's a spinoff of from WandaVision of Agatha
Right.
Harkness. They didn't announce or show us anything for that. They just know that we'll just know she'll be back. I think that's cool. I thought she was neat in that show. I don't know what they're going to do with her. Like I'm not sure if it'll be like her origin beforehand, or if we're going to pick up and see where, because when she left off, Wanda had, what did Wanda do to her? Didn't she make her?
She condemned her to that town, didn't she? Like she was like, so nothing. Like you could have like, yeah, like I think like it was sort of like she like made her an actual character in the town. Like she didn't kill her or anything like that. And I can see her like getting out of that and then having some kind of adventures on her own,
Yes, right.
So yeah, I mean I like that character, so
Yeah.
I'm in, I checked that out.
Yeah, I was excited too. It is funny. I mean, they're, between like Echo and now Agatha and, I don't know, some of these other ones to an extent, they're starting to really go deep in the bench, and it's kind of like, I'm all for it, but I'm just like, who would, if I was like, imagine being a diehard Marvel comic book fan and like all of a sudden you're getting these shows, you would have been like, your mind's gonna be blown,
Yeah, right. Well, it's all, because Disney Plus is like the engine of Disney now, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they're just like, just keep giving us more. Just figure something out. Like, sure, is that character still alive? Make a show. Is that character still alive? Make a show. You know? So, you know, like the next one is like a perfect example. Like, so from What If, you know, we had that zombie
right
episode, and it seems like they're making a whole show out of that zombie episode. I'm like, all right, sure.
I know, right? You're like, okay. I mean, I liked the episode. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I need a whole show about it, but
right.
But, you know, if it's done with the same level of you know, quality as What If, I'll watch it. You know, I'll probably check it out.
Well, The Walking Dead is ending. So those people need somewhere to go. So
I know. So I guess we'll skip over the next 3 on this list only because
we actually have trailers for that. So
but then so then they announced What If season 2, and we already
so that's official, right?
And the I Am Groot cartoon. I think it's a cartoon.
I think they're going to be shorts. That's my guess.
That makes a lot of sense.
I think they're going to be like little vignettes. I think that's what they're going to be.
Yeah, I watched. It just popped up at the Olaf. He is like Olaf, and he sort of summarizes some of the other famous Disney cartoons, and they're like 3 minutes. They're silly, but I watched a few of those. Just the one that I just was laughing at them and stuff. Yeah,
well, going back to the Pixar thing, one of the things they released when they announced for Pixar is there's going to be a Mater Lightning McQueen like on the road show, and I think it's going to be the same sort of thing. Like they're not going to be like full half-hour episodes. They may be 5-10 minutes, something like that.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Short. Yeah, they used to for a while there before Disney Plus. They did those things with Mater where
the Mater Tales.
That was it. Right.
Yeah, my son loved that. They were funny. Some of those Mater Tales were funny.
Yeah. And then the other logos we have here, we have Ironheart, which is going to be. That's the one that's going to be basically Riri Williams, I think her name is.
Yeah, and we've met her, right? At this point, or
maybe they did cast her. I think they did. All I know is that she's like super smart, basically, and is developing the next gen of Iron Man armor, something like that. In the comics, I don't want to say she took over for Iron Man, but like she kind of like basically developed her own suit of armor and looked very similar to Iron Man. So I guess that's kind of where they're going with that.
Okay.
And then I believe I think this show is going to tie into Secret Invasion, which is the other logo, and then what's the War Machine?
The War Machine one. I keep forgetting about it. Armor Wars or something.
I think those 3 are going to tie together somehow. But so the last logo is Secret Invasion here, and I did see a picture of Nick Fury online. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I did see a picture of Nick Fury online, and he's like, the eye patch isn't there, but he's like all like old and grizzled and like, I don't know if you saw that.
I did. Well, it's actually in there, and I'll start the trailers.
Oh, is that where? Okay, good.
Yeah, that's the only thing for that trailer. There for that show.
That's right. Yeah. So what are we seeing here for? This is the first one up on that we have is Moon Knight.
So this one actually, I'm really excited about this show because like Moon Knight's sort of like the Marvel version of Batman, right? Essentially.
I think so. I mean, it certainly looks that way here.
I mean, and there's even a scene in this trailer. There it is.
Yeah, right.
Where that's very Batman-esque,
Yeah. What's neat about him is, I think he's, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, I think he's schizophrenic or has like multiple personality disorder or something of that nature.
Yeah.
So, the one scene you see him like kind of coming out of it and blinking his eyes, and so I think there's like basically a mental health component to this, which could be very interesting as well.
I read, so when they announced this, just out of curiosity, I knew nothing about Moon Knight, and I was like, I'm going to pick up some comics because there's some people love Moon Knight, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I was totally unfamiliar with him, so I was like, I wanted to read a little bit about it, and he does have, in the original comics, he has these multiple personalities, but he's at least in the old comics, he was in control of them.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It looks like, and I think and I haven't read any of the more modern comics, but I think that some of the more modern comics is he doesn't, it's more of it's more of a challenge for him, right? Yeah. So, I think that might be where they're going. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Here's the Secret Invasion one. This is really all they do that we mentioned with Nick Fury.
Oh, okay.
And that's it. Like, it's like if you blink, you miss it, right?
That was fast, right? Yeah. That's funny. So, so I am excited for Moon Knight, and of course Oscar Isaac. I like him a lot. He was on Poe Dameron in Star Wars, and he's showing up everywhere now.
Yeah, so I really think this is. I'm excited about the show. I think this is probably the one I'm most excited about. We don't have a date for this yet, right?
Yeah, I think because I think Ms. Marvel was supposed to be after Hawkeye was supposed to be the next show, and that got pushed.
Okay.
I think the rumor is that Moon Knight will be the next show, but again, you never know with Disney. I mean, everything's changing. So, so we have this, and from the trailer, it definitely seems like a lot of stuff's been shot, and then we have. That's
it. The Secret Invasion. I think after this is Miss Marvel. This will take a second.
Yeah, that's fine. I know. Literally, right? Oh, there he is. Okay. And then
and then the Miss Marvel.
Yeah. So this looks interesting. I know this is going to tie in with Captain Marvel 2, which is I think they're calling The Marvels now, and it's going to be Captain Marvel. It'll be Ms. Marvel, and it's going to be Monica Rambeau from WandaVision. She'll be in that as well.
Okay.
But this is sort of like the secret origin of Ms. Marvel. And the only thing I really know other than this trailer is that in the comics, she has stretchy powers. And I think in the show, they're doing it more as like energy based rather than like, Plastic Man stretchy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably
some people were upset by that because they thought it was, people don't like change. And on one hand, I'm like, well, that's a shame, that they're not doing it. But on the flip side, I always found that unless it's Plastic Man, I always found that like stretchy powers incredibly silly. Like,
it's a hard thing to do well, I think.
Yes. I mean, it's one thing to draw it, but it's another thing. Anytime they try to do that in live action, it just never. It falls to me. It falls apart very quickly. But so anyway, that's there's some hubbub about that, but I don't think I've ever read a comic with Ms. Marvel in it. I've seen pictures of her and things like that. So I'm interested in this series, but I'm more interested to see how it connects with the larger MCU.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at. It doesn't. This isn't. It's not. I'm not that it's not for me. It's just not. There's nothing about this that I find particularly appealing, other than that it's tying into the MCU. And I say that sitting here, and now I may watch it and absolutely love it. Who knows?
Right. I'll probably check it out, and I'm sure especially if it starts getting a lot of buzz and stuff like that, I'll be certain to check it out. It is kind of funny as an aside here before we go on the next one. There's so much content now for Marvel that it's going to get to the point where like you're not going to be able to watch it all. Eventually you might be able to catch it, but I think it's going to be very hard to stay current on all these shows. It's it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, I think. I think certain things are going to, if it's not interesting or it doesn't appeal to you, you're going to skip it, and then you'll be like, then you'll be online. Well, wait, how does that tie into everything? Okay, I think I got it.
And and it's kind of like we were talking about Star Trek a few weeks ago. Same situation. Like there's, I think they are designing shows for certain audiences, right? Like this particular show may not be our thing, right? But it's like it to me, this seems like a show that is going to appeal more to kids. Like that's how I don't know. I mean, I'm just going off of what I see here in the trailer, right? But that's my impression. And
I mean, it's a
and
story
that's fine. That's that's fine. I have no problem with that. Like I don't have to love everything they put out. Everything they put out doesn't have to be for me.
Well,
and that's fine.
They put every single thing they put out was tailored to 50-year-old men.
Right.
It's going to get very boring very quickly. Whereas if they can put out a wide range of things, then it's like, oh, here's the stuff that we know classic. These guys, but then here's. And you got to hear stuff that the kids will like. I mean, it doesn't mean it's childish or but here's something that's geared towards the kids.
Right.
And draw them into the MCU because I mean they're there anyway because it's superheroes. But something like this, a sidekick's origin story, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something like
Because like I was sort of thinking when I saw this, like my daughter goes to the Marvel movies. She likes the Marvel movies. She doesn't love them like the rest of us are.
Mm-hmm.
But this show, I was like, you know what? She might be into this show.
Yes. Yes.
And that's fine. Like if that pulls her in, fantastic.
Sure. Right.
You know?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
So.
All right.
Yeah.
And then after Ms. Marvel, we got.
Yeah, we got the next one is She-Hulk, and this is another one that's like 30 seconds long.
Oh, is that okay? It's longer. Now this one I'm interested in.
Yeah.
All right. Right now, full disclosure here, I'm colorblind. So is she green this entire trailer? Or
No.
is she only in certain, like, is she green right here?
No. She was only green in that when she's in the the athletic gear.
Okay. All right. Like right here.
So, yeah.
But yes. Okay.
That's the only time you see her that she's green.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I thought that's what I was seeing, but I don't trust my eyes when it comes to that stuff. So, okay. So interesting. Now, anyway, this I'm interested in because it's Hulk related, and I like the Hulk. And then I've always found her interesting. Her comics, the ones I've read, she's leaning more towards the funny side. Like her comics have always been a little silly, a little like funny.
Okay.
And so I think I was looking forward to this because it could be, like fun, like a little bit more lighthearted and stuff like that. But I was curious, right? Is she going to be green the whole time? Is she not going to be green?
Because is she green the whole time in the comics?
As far as I know, yes.
I thought so. So.
Yeah, basically. So her, instead of the Incredible Hulk, where he turns into the Hulk and hulks out and goes bananas, she's basically almost like Smart Hulk. She is always tall. She's never been like huge. It depends how they draw her, but
she's never been like huge muscular. I mean, she's always been very like athletic, but she's not been like hulking like Hulk.
Yes, but it's really kind of like Smart Hulk ended up in that. He wasn't like absurd. I mean, he was muscular and he was big, but he wasn't, absurd. Like
right. He wasn't like You could reasonably big, right?
Yeah. And then her thing is she's a lawyer and she helps superheroes with their with lawyer problems. So the dynamic there adds to some. I think it can lend itself to being funny, but probably also serious too.
Right.
So, but yeah, I'd be curious to see how they do this.
Yeah. And then I think that was pretty much it for the trailers. Now everything else is just.
They just go through the logos.
Yeah, everything else is I think just logos. But
okay.
then they announced What If Season 2. And but I haven't. I don't think they've missed yet on any of this any of this Disney Plus stuff. So I'm excited for it. Like I can't wait for it. They also did. And I don't have it here, but they showed a lot more from Hawkeye.
Oh yeah, that looked really good.
And in fact, they showed like whole scenes from like
that sequence they showed in the car. It's Hawkeye and Kate Bishop in the car, and they got guys chasing them, and they're shooting their arrows at them.
Yeah,
it seems to be, but it's one continuous shot where like
Yes.
the guy's in the middle of the car and he's going like this, and you see Hawkeye talking. And he keeps, he spins around with Bishop, then he goes back around, and they see the cars chasing him. I think he does like 2 full circles there. I was fascinated by that. I thought that was
it looks really interesting.
Yeah, and they're bickering and talking about arrows and all that stuff. It looks like it's going to be. I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
And that's just it's right before Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah,
or right after Thanksgiving.
No, right. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so it's next week.
And that'll premiere. My daughter and I were just looking at it last night. It's going to be 2 episodes, and they're both about 45 minutes long. So like 2-hour chunk of time. So I figured, we can watch those, the night before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. That really looks good. But a few surprises here with the Marvel announcements for Disney Plus Day.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking for. Hey, I'm willing to give everything a chance. I mean, they haven't disappointed me. I'll give it all a shot and see. I hope they can. I hope they can. There is a lot of content, and I hope they can keep it spaced out enough where, it's kind of fun to have one thing a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, now, okay, so you might have a Marvel and then a Star Wars show, but it with Marvel, it's like, all right, it's kind of nice to have one thing a week just to look forward to like that. I know their probably instinct is to just pump as much out as they can, but I hope they can kind of keep it,
like they don't overdo it.
Yeah.
But far, everything they've put out so far has been great. I thought I
agree.
So,
all right, well, good
stuff. All right. So shall we move on to the Star Wars portion of our?
So we got now. Funnily enough, with Star Wars is for Disney Plus Day, they really didn't reveal very much, but before Disney Plus Day, we got our Book of Boba Fett trailer, right?
Yes. For Disney Plus Day, and I don't know if you've seen it yet. And I did want to mention this, that they announced Boba Fett like behind the helmet. It's like a documentary sort of thing. Did you watch that?
Yeah, I did. Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it, and
that was really good. It was nice.
Yeah, and I think that like I got the sense that is for those who are like, who's this Boba Fett guy? He's been in he was in the show for like what 8 minutes.
He had like 3 lines and like like probably collectively. What? Who is this guy?
So I thought that show was really good because I didn't even I mean there was a lot of stuff that they talked about that I didn't know that was going to be like a stormtrooper outfit for the second movie, and then they decided they didn't have enough money to do it, so they just
I didn't know that either. I
thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I knew about the prototype. I knew it was white, but like I said, I never knew it was tentatively a prototype stormtrooper or so that was pretty neat. I've seen parts of that interview, some of the old clips they showed, like when they introduced him and Ben Burt's there, and they're showing his gadget. I've seen that before, but that was neat to see again. And that the footage of him at that parade in Marin County, I thought that was really neat. Like I didn't know any of that. That's pretty. I've heard of that, and I think I've seen the footage before, but it was a nice refresher. Just something where you're like, oh, all right, I forgot about that. That's really cool. Imagine this day and age. I mean, a new Star Wars character showed up at a parade. I mean, you wouldn't be able to get away from it.
Right.
World. Back then, now you're like, huh?
Right, like nobody even right.
Nobody blinked, okay, whatever,
Yeah, so there's more of a history to that character than I thought.
Yeah.
And so if you haven't seen, like, it's on Disney Plus. If you haven't seen it, it's called I think Boba Fett Behind the Helmet. I think it's called.
Yep.
And go check it out. It's interesting. It's like 20-25 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. My favorite thing is whenever Boba Fett's on the screen, he doesn't wear cowboy spurs, but you always hear the cowboy spurs.
Yes.
And I love that, because
Like
that's what
they added it.
yeah. That's what gave it away in The Mandalorian for season 1 when he showed up at the end. I'm like, I hear cowboy spurs. That's Boba Fett.
Yeah. And then I thought it was cool too that they were like George was like, well, he should have a cape, Clint Eastwood would have that,
the poncho thing.
Poncho.
Yeah.
And they were like, I don't know. So they went and they grabbed an old towel and put that. And I thought that was like the original or the beginning of the cape, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, right. Everything's back then it was just fly by the seat of your pants. We need a cape. Grab that towel.
Yeah.
Now it'd be like highly processed, and you know what I mean. There'd be like 4 towels to choose from. And,
right.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting. If you get a chance to check it out, but then we got the official trailer, which actually came before Disney Plus Day. But I really do. I think that show is kind of designed to be like, okay, this is reintroduce people to this character. I mean, we know him. Diehard fans know who Boba Fett is, but if you're not, you might not.
Yeah, and even if maybe you haven't watched The Mandalorian, and maybe you didn't, but now you're like, Boba Fett, I remember him, and then you watch that, you're like, oh wow, okay, and then the trailer here, that Bomar monk spider thing,
those things are cool.
I just squealed like a little girl. That thing showed up. I haven't seen this in a little while, but this is good. I mean, it's Boba Fett being a badass. He's kind of there's Hammerhead. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That the city's
I
great.
love the environments.
Yeah. And there's a throne. Everything looks really good, and I mean, there's so much to pull apart here and stuff. I guess the gist is, he's creating a crime syndicate. I mean, he's kind of putting everything, he took over for Jabba or Bib Fortune, and like he's meeting with the 5 families or whatever.
Right.
Father type of thing. And I mean, it looks, there's like sand people there. It looks really cool. It's got the feel, and it says there every world has an underworld or something, like every planet has an underworld. So you got to get the sense that it's going to be like a mafia type, show. Like I don't know. Oh, you froze up again. You there? You're freezing on me. There you go. Wait. You froze up. No, that's fine. Look at his face. There you go.
Okay.
Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, all right. Well, we had some technical problems, but when the video froze, it was him with a stick over his head. His eyes are like bugging out his head, like he's going to smash somebody on the ground. But with that, it just made me laugh. But two things. One, here, I'll show you, since that's on the screen right now. I got one of those.
Cool.
They made this in the 90s. It was like a special mail away thing.
Oh, cool.
I had one years ago and I sold it off, and the video came out. I'm like, well, I'm going to eBay.
Yeah.
I went with that. But the other thing I wanted to talk about for Boba Fett is that, so when George still had Star Wars, and I want to say either around the time of the Clone Wars or either simultaneously or before and after, I'm not sure, there was a show that never got made, but it was called Star Wars Underworld. And it was going to be about the underworld of Star Wars. And apparently he had all these scripts written up. He had hired people to do all this stuff. It just never.
You're freezing again.
Got to the production stages of it.
Right.
I see the video again. Okay.
So,
I don't know where I left off. So
so he had all these scripts written, was what I heard.
Okay, so right, I had all these scripts written. It just never made it to the production phase.
Yeah.
And so somebody was saying that with this Boba Fett show, obviously they have their stories they want to tell, but the rumor sort of is that this might be a way to take advantage of those scripts.
Yeah.
And, flesh out, because I think at the time, if I remember right, I think Boba Fett may have been the star of that show, but I can't remember if that was what people thought or if that was true. You know what I mean?
Right. There was also a video game that was supposed to come out, and it got very far into production.
Yes.
And then that got canceled too. And it was like, I think it was supposed to take place in the Coruscant underworld.
Yes,
right?
that was.
And it was called
Star Wars
1313.
That was it. Right.
And it was like level 1313 or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was like, of all the levels, this was the shadiest.
Right.
Basically. Yeah.
So I think all that stuff I think may get filtered here, in the show.
And it would make sense. I mean, if you're Disney and you bought Lucasfilm and you have all these scripts that you're sitting on and you have all these assets from the video game that never got made. I mean, all that work is sitting there. So you're like, well, we probably have something here. And, if you have Favreau and Filoni and, they're probably like, yeah, man, let's go,
Yeah, right. Yeah,
So.
This looks great. I can't wait. This is right around the corner too. It's like probably about a month away, right?
It's
right before it's in December, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's like December 29th, I think.
Okay, so a little more than a month.
Right, yeah, almost New Year's, but yeah. I'm really excited for this. I mean, his reappearance in The Mandalorian was something that it's funny, like we've said on the show before early on, we're like, yeah, Boba Fett, whatever. We were kind of so excited with The Mandalorian that we're kind of like, yeah, okay, Boba Fett can kind of go his own way. That's fine. And just how they kind of snuck him in on us, and now like I'm like, but Boba Fett, I'm excited now.
I mean, I was like, oh, I don't know how they're gonna have two guys in Mandalorian armor. It's not gonna make any sense. And then now I'm like, I'm all in.
You're right. Now you're like, all right, sign me up.
Yeah, this is good stuff. So. You're getting yeah.
No. Yeah. I'm really excited for that. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So then we got. Are you good here? You have anything else you want?
I'm good on Boba Fett.
All right. So then we also got with our first teaser for Obi-Wan. Now this is not a trailer, but it's like a sizzle reel.
Yeah.
And I actually had trouble getting this. It's not as easy to find out online as you would expect.
This is one of the things that I was talking about where, Disney's promoting this new show, but this was exclusively on Disney Plus.
Right.
That's what I was I'm like, you want people to be excited for Obi-Wan. I mean, this is huge for them, basically.
Right.
And you think they would just have it everywhere to be promoted. And I know early on they were pulling it down left and right. I guess now it's finally able to be out there, but anyway, I'm excited for this.
Yeah, so we don't really see any action in this. We don't see you in the Obi-Wan garb or anything. Right. But there's a lot of like concept art.
That's really neat. I love.
Yeah, but this is a great example. Like see Ewan practicing with the lightsaber.
Right.
There's a shot in here of Vader sitting at like almost like on a throne, which I would assume is his castle, right?
Right. Yeah, that's what I was figuring too. Right.
Yeah. So this looks amazing, and it seems, and it's a pretty much confirmed now based from this that we are going to see at least one lightsaber duel between. Hayden is definitely coming back as they announced Hayden's coming back as Darth Vader, and then they say we're going to see a lightsaber duel between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, which is really cool.
Yep. Right.
So that's
I think that'll be really cool. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see them, them back on the screen. I mean, Obi-Wan was, by far to me the best part of the prequels. You know what I mean? Like I just, he's great. I always say I wish that they had restructured, or the prequels had been structured slightly differently, where Obi-Wan was the main guy. You know what I mean? Like they should, in hindsight, especially, they should have been his movies. And I don't know. I think I would have enjoyed that more. But whatever. We're getting this now. I mean, definitely right. There's concept art of him and Vader and Obi-Wan fighting somewhere. I mean, I can't. This is who would have thought?
Yeah, I know. Right. Who would have thought we were ever, in our wildest dreams, actually get to see this, these stories. So, it does look like. I mean, because Deborah Chow. I mean, we don't have any of the audio here. But like Deborah Chow says at one point during, like Ewan says in his interview that his, Obi-Wan's job is like to keep his tabs on Luke, basically. And Deborah Chow says, well, that's our starting point, and then we go from there. So It does seem like Obi-Wan is not going to stay on Tatooine, at least. I mean, that's seems to be the case, right? Like that he's going to go somewhere for some reason.
He would almost have to, because if he's on, if all the action takes place on Tatooine, then they know he's there,
right?
So, but remember one of the other shows we talked about, we think that instead of Luke, we think that Leia might be the reason he goes off planet.
Yeah, see, that would make sense, right? If there's a threat to her, that would make sense.
I am all about that. I would absolutely love that, because, old school me, Obi-Wan went to that desert and he didn't do anything until we saw him again. That's like old. But I'm like, oh, here's an unknown adventure. But he actually left one time and was doing it for Leia, and he fought Vader and all the stuff he didn't know about. But that makes it. Man, that's so perfect. I hope they do use that. I hope that's.
Yeah, it makes so much sense that would be the reason. So that I hope that's the route they go. Excuse me.
No, you're fine.
I hope that's the route they go. But this is they don't. It's streaming in 2022. They said it's coming. We don't have a date, but we know it's coming in 2022. So
right. I think, and that's it. That was it for Star Wars, right? I know we're getting. I was going to say, I know we're getting Andor, the Rogue One prequel, but that comes out, I think they said this time next year. I don't think that's due until like the end of 2022.
Okay.
I did read that somewhere, but go ahead. I know what you were going to say.
Yeah. The only other thing I wanted to talk about with Star Wars is that we also got, sort of out of nowhere, got the announcement that it looks like Rogue Squadron has been shelved.
Right.
Yeah. And what was the director's name? Was
Patty Jenkins.
Patty Jenkins. So it seems like she has left due to creative differences at Lucasfilm. We don't have any other details, but it seems, but Rogue Squadron is definitely being shelved, at least for the time being. We may still get it, but it's going to probably be a completely different movie at this point. So I don't know. We were sort of talking about before the show. I just don't. I just wonder what is happening over there at Lucasfilm that they just can't. I mean, how many directors have they gone through? It's sort of getting kind of ridiculous.
Other than JJ for the first one, and then Rian Johnson for Last Jedi, every other movie has had turnover.
Yeah.
We were saying Rogue One, they brought in Gareth Edwards, and then I think it was Tony Gilroy had to finish up like the third act.
Right.
Solo
right.
Right, it was a hot mess with the Lord and Miller, and then Ron Howard taking over. Colin Trevorrow got canned off of Rise of Skywalker, which wasn't even what his movie was called, and then they had to bring JJ back in.
Right, and then and then they've made announcements that the Game of Thrones guys were going to be doing something, and that no one ever said that they weren't, but it sort of just kind of went away. Ryan Johnson was supposed to have another trilogy that sort of went away,
Right.
and then
and now this, right? With
and now
Patty
this. So
Jenkins.
it's just it's kind of like I just I don't know. I mean, is it? It's sort of getting like I was always sort of willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on a lot of this stuff, but now it's kind of getting to the point where it's like, I think this is a problem, right?
Yeah.
Like this is like, I don't know that if I were a director, I'd be like, I don't know that I want to go work for Lucasfilm at this point because they seem to have a lot of issues.
Well, that's what I'm finding that interesting because if you have to, but if you compare it to Marvel, like Marvel's had some issues, and I mean, there's been some directors that have come and gone, but it never seems to be. Well, Patty Jenkins is an example. She was supposed to do Thor 2 and had creative differences and left. And then they brought in somebody else whose name escapes me. And then somebody was supposed to do Ant-Man.
Yeah, Ant-Man changed. That's the one I remember.
Right. And so there were bumps in the road there and things like that. But I mean, I don't know. You know, this is like ongoing. It's not just one or two. It's all the time anymore, it feels like.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, you know, maybe there's a couple different things, but like, you know I've said before, I've stuck up for Kathleen Kennedy before, and I always say, well, she's really good at making the movies. Like, I don't know how good she is with like the story and the lore and like the vision of, like, you know, George had his vision, Kevin Feige, he's got his vision.
Right.
I'm not sure she has that, and maybe that's part of the problem. Like, you know what I mean? Like, instead of having the vision and then these different directors slotted in, you know, maybe there's you know, if there's no vision per se, then maybe that's why there's a lot of miscommunication between the director and you know, Kathy Kennedy. I don't know.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I hope they get sorted out because there's a lot of, you know, I mean, they certainly seem to be hit. Like, the TV shows have been great.
Yeah.
You know, I just rewatched season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Okay.
I know you were saying you rewatched it too. I just watched season 2.
Yeah, we're my wife and I are watching it. She hadn't watched it yet. So we're just about at the end of season 1. So that's something that I thought of too. I'm like, you know what? They're having such a good run here with the TV, with Mandalorian, and you got Boba Fett coming at it. We're all worked up for. We mentioned Andor's coming out. What else is I know they announced a bunch of stuff, but what else has been production?
Bad Batch was good.
Oh, Bad Batch was really good. Kenobi's coming out. We're all excited for that.
Right.
So I mean, maybe they're thinking that, you know, Star Wars, aside, take the past stuff away, and maybe they're just kind of refocusing and saying, you know what, maybe we just stick with the TV for a little while here, because I mean, to be perfectly honest, the Rogue Squadron movie, I was kind of like, because I mean, you know, I don't know, like, they didn't give you any information.
Right.
I don't know where it took place. I mean, the name holds a place for me from the original trilogy with like Wedge. That was always Wedge's group.
Right.
But then the poster, the artwork they showed had the X-Wings from the sequel trilogy. So you're like, well, is it going to be from there? You know, so it's very, you know, like, it's, I don't know. It was almost like, kind of like, why, you know, like, if
what's the point? Right. I hear you. I was sort of excited about the idea of it being like a Top Gun-esque thing in Star Wars, in the Star Wars universe. I was like, that could be pretty cool. But like, I hear you. Like, I was like, well, why do we?
Right.
What's behind this? Why do we need this? Right.
Yeah.
Like, what's?
I mean,
you know.
I mean, right. And I mean, and not for anything, maybe they're thinking about instead of making a movie, maybe they're thinking about making it a TV show.
Right.
I mean, you could take a group of pilots, you could have, you could do a whole thing. Oh, here they're training to be pilots. Oh, they get to be pilots. Oh, here's the big bad guy, the big danger, or like flesh it out. This has nothing to do with Star Wars, but one of the things I realized lately is that I think I like TV format better than in some cases better than movies. And
Yeah.
my example is the Sopranos movie that came out, The Many Saints of Newark.
Yeah, I have not seen it yet. I'm why I want.
So I watched it, and I mean, it was okay, but it felt like an entire TV series, season that they took and shoved into a 2-hour
Right.
movie and left more than half of it on the floor.
Right.
You're like, at the end of that, you're kind of like, why was that a movie? Why wasn't that like 12 hours of television? And
Right.
so that's kind of, I'm thinking, I'm like, maybe they're realizing that unless it's a big, huge movie, maybe it doesn't need to be a movie. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I think the TV shows, and I think this is true of the Marvel shows we've seen to date. The TV shows, there's time to breathe.
Yeah.
Right? Like they can really flesh out. Like one of the things I loved about the Marvel TV shows is you really got to know those characters. Like you didn't know Wanda and Vision all that much. Like they weren't on. They didn't get a whole lot of screen time. I mean, they had some, but not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you really got to know Wanda and Vision in that show. And in Loki, you really got to know.
Yeah,
I mean, and you've sort of gotten an opportunity to know Loki because he's been in so many movies at this point. But you really got to know him in that show, which I thought was great. So that's the beauty of the television format. You can tell the story over 8 hours or 12 hours, whatever it is.
It's funny because in the old days, TV used to be like, especially like network shows, it always felt like there was so much padding. Like we always say that about CW superhero shows. Like, my God, those shows are padded.
Yeah.
But like when you have it, if you do this and you're like, you know what, we need 6 episodes. Fine, 6 episodes. Go tell your story. Oh, I think we have 8. I think we have 8 episodes. And they might vary in time, but okay, good. Do 8 episodes.
Right.
It's not like we need 22 episodes.
Yeah.
At 47 minutes.
Yeah, those. It's funny because it's funny to go back and watch. Like as I do this with Star Trek. Like, those are long seasons, man. Now because so many of those stories, like some of the stories are connected, but so many of them aren't. They're just
a one-off episode.
Just one-off episodes about like almost nothing. It's just like, oh my God. But so I don't know. I don't know where Star Wars is going. I hope they get their act together when it comes to directors. I mean, maybe their mistake is, they seem to be going for named directors, like people Maybe they're better off going with like, people who are starting out, or
right, just bring
people have something to prove,
Yeah, bring someone that's happy to have a job. I mean,
right.
And that would be much more willing to, if, and I'm going to blame Kathleen Kennedy, but she's running the show, so it's like, bringing somebody that is going to be like excited to be there, excited to do a Star Wars movie, and excited to work with you.
Right.
Hey, I'm here. What do you want? Because that's kind of how it works now. It's like, it's not like, oh, I'm going to make my movie. It's like, well, I'm working on these huge franchises. What do you guys want? Because that's how the movies,
Right.
You can put your own spin on it. Like, I mean, look at James Gunn, and he came in and did Guardians of the Galaxy, and he made that was his movie, but at the same time, it also served the greater
story. Right.
Yeah, and there's got to be a line there. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
So, the only other Star Wars movies that currently are in production or are even out there right now are Taika Waititi is supposed to have one.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about it, but I know that's still happening. And Kevin Feige is supposed to have one that he's working on. And there was a rumor going around that Chloe, she directed Eternals. I can't remember her name. There was a rumor for a little short period of time that she was going to direct his Star Wars movie, but then that quickly went away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I mean, they're supposed to have it's supposed to be, I mean, I know the whole schedule got screwed up with COVID and everything else, but wasn't it supposed to be like there was supposed to be like
it was supposed to be like
an Avatar movie and then a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
You know, it was like they were going to alternate years, and now it's like I don't know that they even have anything in the pipeline at this point.
I don't. I mean,
Just those two that you
right.
mentioned.
And I mean, I think I saw Taika said somewhere that he was starting to write his, but I don't. Who knows what's going on with Feige? I mean,
Right.
now I will say, and this just kind of popped in my head. When it was announced that Feige was interested in doing a Star Wars movie, everyone's like, "Oh, he's going to take over Lucasfilm." Yeah, and they've denied that and all that. And I did just read this past week that Kathleen Kennedy has signed on for 3 more years.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting, and I'm just speculating, but it would be interesting to see, if he gets in there and works on his movie, and then maybe after 3 years, Kathy, I mean, she's not young, so maybe she says, "Okay, I'm going to retire, or I'm done with running a company.
Yeah.
I'm going to produce stuff with my husband," or whatever she decides to do. And maybe Feige could come in that way. And like I said, I'm just speculating, but on the flip side, I'd love to see Favreau. I mean, if he wanted to come, and I mean, I don't know if he wants to run a movie studio per se, but
Right.
come in as the creative directors, or even Dave
Filoni.
Always butcher his last name.
I'll tell you what, if I were Kevin Feige, I'd be like, I don't want to be part of that. Right? Like I got all this success over here with Marvel. I don't even want you guys, whatever you guys got going on over there, you take care of it.
Yeah, it would have to take a lot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he must be really excited. He must have a really good story. He must be very excited about it. But I mean, yeah, nobody hates Star Wars like Star Wars fans. I mean,
Yeah. Right.
They're gonna. Here's the Marvel big boy. He's coming over here now. We're gonna, we're gonna get him.
Yeah. Exactly. So.
All right.
So, do you have anything else for Star Wars?
Yeah, nope. That's it here. I'm good for that.
All right. I just have a couple real quick things. So we got a new trailer for Stranger Things, which was.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
Yeah. I didn't want to do anything other than mention it. I don't have it or anything, but just that's coming in 2022. That looks good. I'll tell you what really struck me about it when I watched it. Right. Those kids have gotten old. I mean, not old, right. But you're just like, oh my God, like
they did.
Forget how how long ago that thing came out.
Yeah. I know. It's funny because I thought the same thing because I forget if it was in that trailer or if it's just in general, but they showed 11 from season 1, and they just to be like, oh, she's a young lady now. It's not just this kid.
Right. They're not kids anymore.
Even all the other ones. Matter of fact, even the Mike from Stranger Things. He's coming up in the new Ghostbusters movie. But even in there, really quick, they show him, and I'm like, he's like a teenager now, and he's like, like I think he's driving the car in the you know what I mean? Like I have no idea how old he is in real life, but I'm like, oh, this isn't a little kid anymore riding his bike,
Right. That they all look significantly older. So the trailer looks good. I'm looking forward to it. I love those shows. I was actually thinking about rewatching some of them anyway, so I might do that. So that came out. Also, real quick, I thought, and this just caught I didn't even know this was happening, and it caught my attention last week, and I was all excited about it. There's a show, it's a Christmas show, and it's called 8-Bit Christmas.
Oh, right, I saw you, yeah.
And it's Neil Patrick Harris is in it,
right?
And it's sort of like it's about a kid trying to find an NES console when they came out. Okay. And it's around the Christmas time, so I don't know. It looks really fun. It gave me. I'm looking forward to it. That comes out next Wednesday. Okay. It's right before. It's the day before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And
where's that at?
I think it's on HBO Max. I think it's on HBO Max. So, but what I got from watching it, I got the vibe that it was a very Christmas Story-esque, just set in the 1980s.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that. That looks really good, and I'm going to check that out. I'm all excited
that looks
about
fun. Yeah, cool.
So yeah, if you have HBO Max, go check it out. It just looks fun. And then the other thing is I've been mentioned before. I have been playing Metroid Dread. I'm still playing it. I'm a very slow video game player. It's my shirt. See, got Metroid Dread. But like, yeah, I just wanted to mention if you're on the fence about it, they have a free trial that you can download right now out on the Nintendo. Like if you have a Switch, you can go out to the Nintendo eShop and you can download like a trial. I don't know how long you can play. But if you're on the fence about Metroid Dread, it's a really good game. I've been enjoying it. It's not easy. It's gonna take me a while to get through it. I'm not one of these video game players that can get through it in like 3 days, or 2 days, whatever it is. Right. But it's a lot of fun. I've really been enjoying it. So check it out if you're on the fence about it. They have that free trial.
Oh, cool.
It's worth checking out. So that's really all the rest of the information I had.
Okay, good.
Do you have anything else tonight?
Nope, that's it. I think we're about done here.
All right. Well, with that, I guess catches us up. I'm all excited that we caught the Spider-Man trailer. We started with that. Very exciting. I know, breaking news. So we'll have to try to get these up quick this week. But so thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. If you enjoy the show, I ask you to go out and leave us a review on iTunes. You can follow us. We should have a YouTube version, although we've had some technical difficulties tonight. We should have a YouTube version up. You can check us out there if you want to watch us. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. So thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for listening.